Few names in European history carry the chill of Vlad the Impalers. For centuries, travelers whispered of forests of stakes, merchants weighed their honesty against their lives, and rulers measured themselves against a prince who made terror his weapon. Yet behind the Gothic aura lies a real 15th century figure, Vlad III of Wallachia, whose story is one of civil war, frontier politics, and survival on the fault line between East and West. To understand the real Dracula, we have to untangle legend from logistics, why he ruled as he did, how his enemies wrote his story, and what remains once we strip away the bat wings and capes of later fiction. A prince from the borderlands. Vlad III was born in 1431, most likely in the Transylvanian town of Siasora. His father, Vlad II, had earned the title Dracula by joining the Order of the Dragon, a knightly brotherhood created to defend Christian Europe against Ottoman expansion. In its original sense, Dracula simply meant son of Dracul. The family's homeland, Wallachia, southern Romania today, sat precariously between powerful forces. To the south lay the rising Ottoman Empire under Sultans Murad II and later Mehmed II. To the northwest, Hungary sought to check Ottoman advances. To the east, Moldavia shifted between ally and rival. Survival for Wallachian princes, called voivodes, meant playing these powers against one another with tribute, alliances, and ruthless domestic control. As a boy, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were sent to the Ottoman court as hostages, a common guarantee of loyalty. There, Vlad learned Turkish, observed military tactics, and saw the mechanics of power across the Danube. The experience hardened him. It taught him the uses of fear and the value of swift, uncompromising action. When his father and elder brother were murdered in Wallachian political upheaval, Vlad's ambitions narrowed to a single focus: reclaim his throne and keep it, whatever the cost. 3 reigns in a storm. Vlad ruled Wallachia 3 times, briefly in 1448, then more securely from 1456 to 1462, and again for a short period in 1476. Each reign was marked by instability. The boyars, powerful nobles with their own feuds, could easily make or break a prince. Hungary backed its own candidates, and the Ottomans theirs. During his second and most significant reign, Vlad sought to strengthen central authority. He rebuilt fortifications, tightened control of river crossings, and imposed taxes with a consistency rare in a region long dominated by noble privilege. His policies were inseparable from violence. He punished treachery and criminality with impalement, a practice so notorious it gave him his nickname, Vlad the Impaler. To modern sensibilities, these punishments are monstrous, but for Vlad they were calculated tools. They deterred rivals, disciplined subjects, and warned outsiders that Wallachia would not be easy prey. Law, order, and the theater of punishment. Impalement was not merely execution, it was theater. Victims were pierced upon sharpened stakes, sometimes greased to prolong agony, the poles set upright so that death came slowly. The spectacle was public, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. Stories circulated of Vlad's iron order. One tale describes a golden cup left unguarded at a public fountain, never stolen during his reign. Such accounts, whether exaggerated or not, capture his intent to create absolute security by inspiring absolute fear. The brutality also served political functions. Public punishment warned boyars against conspiracy, merchants against fraud, and common criminals against theft. It told Ottoman garrisons along the Danube that crossing into Wallachia would not be simple. For peasants tired of raids and lawlessness, Vlad's terrifying justice offered predictability. In a world where power was usually arbitrary, he gave them a grim certainty: war on the Danube. By the late 1450s, Ottoman expansion had reshaped the Balkans. In 1453, Mehmed II captured Constantinople. Soon his armies pressed north. Initially, Vlad owed tribute and military support to the Sultan, but in 1459, he openly defied orders, killing Ottoman envoys and attacking across the Danube. His raids destroyed depots and settlements, directly challenging imperial authority. In 1462, Mehmed launched a major campaign to punish him. What followed became the centerpiece of Vlad's legend, the night attack near Targovist. Under cover of darkness, Vlad's forces infiltrated the Ottoman camp, aiming to kill the Sultan himself. They failed to strike Mehmed's pavilion but sowed chaos and inflicted heavy casualties. When Mehmed advanced to Targovist, he found a grisly spectacle: thousands of impaled bodies lining the road, forming a grotesque forest. Chroniclers disagree on numbers, but the psychological effect was undeniable. The Ottomans withdrew with captives and plunder, but without securing control. Terror had bought Wallachia precious time: captivity, return, and death. Victory, however, was fleeting. Seeking aid from Hungary, Vlad found himself imprisoned by King Matthias Corvinus. German pamphlets, already spreading tales of his atrocities, made him appear more liability than ally. Vlad's imprisonment was not harsh. He lived under supervision, eventually marrying into the Hungarian nobility and even converting to Catholicism for political convenience. After more than a decade, he regained the Wallachian throne in 1476 with support from his cousin, Moldavia's Stephen the Great. His final reign was brief. Later that year, Vlad died in battle, likely near Bucharest. According to some accounts, his head was sent to Mehmed and displayed in Constantinople. His burial place remains disputed, with Snagov Monastery often cited but unproven. The making of a monster and a hero. If Vlad's deeds were dramatic, the stories told about him were even more so. In German lands, cheaply printed pamphlets, early tabloids, spread lurid tales of a tyrant who delighted in blood. In Slavic traditions, he was remembered as a stern but just ruler who defended his land. Ottoman writers emphasized his ferocity to highlight the Sultan's eventual triumphs. Each perspective served an agenda. German printers sold fear. Hungarian politics justified sidelining him. Moldavian chroniclers saw a fellow resistor. Even the casualty numbers, tens of thousands in some accounts, became propaganda tools. The truth lies somewhere between. Vlad was no mere sadist, but neither was he a proto-national hero. He was a late medieval warlord who ruled through staged atrocity and psychological warfare. Dracula enters the room. Centuries later, Bram Stoker, an Irish theater manager writing a Gothic novel, stumbled across the name Dracula in 19th century sources. He gave it to his fictional vampire, Count Dracula, who dwelt in the Carpathians and embodied Victorian anxieties about sexuality, foreignness, and modernity. Stoker's character was not meant as Vlad's biography, but the association stuck. Vlad gained a second life as a pop culture villain, his historical cruelty reshaped into supernatural evil. Today, Bran Castle is marketed as Dracula's Castle, despite minimal connection to Vlad, and his image sells postcards and horror films worldwide. Ironically, this enduring myth reflects Vlad's own understanding of performance. Spectacle outlived specifics. Government by fear. So what do we make of a ruler who built order through terror? Wallachia in the 15th century was fragile, its nobles fractious, its borders under constant threat. Vlad's solution was centralized authority enforced with exemplary punishment. To many contemporaries, this looked like efficiency. Merchants could travel safely. Peasants knew the rules, even if they dreaded them. But fear alone is brittle. Vlad's regime collapsed upon his death. His harsh justice did not evolve into lasting institutions. He left no enduring legal framework, only a memory of brutality. Fear can compel obedience, but it cannot build permanence. A frontier between empires. To understand Vlad, we must place him in context. The Balkans of his time were a pressure cooker. The Ottomans were building a centralized bureaucratic empire. Hungary was strengthening under the Hunyadis, and later Matthias Corvinus, who raised Europe's first significant standing infantry force since Rome. Wallachia's princes had little room to maneuver. Tribute might preserve autonomy for a while, but defiance invited punitive expeditions. Aligning with Hungary risked Ottoman wrath. Aligning with the Ottomans risked Hungarian invasion. Vlad's shocking methods served a purpose. They signaled to both allies and enemies that Wallachia was no easy pawn. Violence, as much as diplomacy, was his survival strategy. Sources and their traps. Reconstructing Vlad's life depends on a patchwork of sources. Hungarian records, Ottoman chronicles, Moldavian annals, German pamphlets, and later stories, all are biased. German accounts exaggerated gore. Slavic ones painted him as almost saintly. Ottoman texts, dramatized his savagery. Even his personal details remain hazy. His first wife may have been linked to the Hunyadi's. His second marriage tied him to Hungarian nobility. He had children, but genealogies are uncertain. His final resting place is debated. These gaps remind us that medieval principalities did not preserve records with modern accuracy. Beyond villainy and valor, modern Romania remembers Vlad with ambivalence. At times, he has been celebrated as a strong unifier and defender against Ottoman domination. At others, he has been used as a symbol of incorruptible justice. Abroad, he is remembered mostly as Dracula, a shorthand for horror. The reality is more complex. Vlad was a practitioner of psychological warfare before the term existed. He understood that fear could shape behavior as effectively as armies or taxes. A single rumor of impalement could deter treachery more effectively than a regiment. Did he enjoy cruelty? The sources cannot say. Medieval punishment was often brutal across Europe. What set Vlad apart was not cruelty alone, but consistency in scale. He weaponized reputation with unusual effectiveness. The cost of being unforgettable. For those who suffered on his stakes, this is little comfort. They were people whose lives ended in calculated agony. To acknowledge Vlad's strategic acumen is not to excuse his brutality. His reign demonstrates both the effectiveness and the limits of fear as policy. He achieved order, but only briefly. His name survived longer than his institutions. In a sense, his afterlife, villain, hero, monster, symbol, proved more enduring than his rule. What remains when the myths fade? Strip away the Gothic trappings, and Vlad III emerges as a late medieval prince of a fragile frontier state. He fought empire with raids and terror, governed nobles with executions, and secured order for a time in a land that knew little of it. He was not a vampire, only a man of his hour, whose methods shocked even an age accustomed to cruelty. His enemies and admirers exaggerated him. A novelist immortalized him. Between the exaggerations lies the real lesson. In precarious places, power often looks like cruelty with a plan. Vlad's stakes did not outlive him, but his reputation did. His name still makes the imagination flinch, and in that, the Impaler remains unbeaten. If you enjoyed this video into the myth of Hercules and want more stories of gods, legends, and history's most fascinating figures, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment sharing your favorite part of Hercules' myth, and subscribe to the channel for more epic tales every week. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.